contracting methods, then we have here design, bid, build, project management as a service, project management at risk, and IPD. And we can consider which are more flexible for design changes. Now, I do want to say that the chart is not applicable to every project. Of course, different projects and different clients have different needs. If you're doing a very simple project that's very repetitive, you have very different needs than a project that is one-time, a huge, novel project. But if we try to, so I'm generalizing a little bit. These three are the most flexible for design changes. If I want to make design changes here, I'm going to pay a great deal for those design changes during construction. Budgetary certainty, how well can I know the cost of the building ahead of time? Well, here, yes, but maybe there are extra costs from claims. Here in general, it's fairly well known, and here as well. But is that the best value I could get in my project? Probably not. Flexibility for novel building products or methods? Well, here, not so much, but here, and in all of these, if contractors have new ideas about new technology or new systems, generally they can introduce them. Suitability for schedule compression, which ones can I reduce the schedule? Well, again, here, because the design and the construction are done in parallel, at service sometimes I can, but certainly here. It will normally be in the interest of the whole team to reduce the duration. Cost effectiveness, maybe. It seems that in the bigger projects, then this is going to have a very big advantage, and that's been the experience so far. And collaboration, of course, this is the only one that really engenders collaboration at a fundamental level, at the level of the commercial interests of the partners. A quick comment, two quick comments on the experience that people have had so far with IPD and building modeling. We hypothesize that the full potential for improvement of construction projects can only be achieved when meaning BIM and lean construction adoption is integrated as they are in the IPD approach. And this comes from the American Institute of Architects, who have said, although it is possible to achieve IPD without BIM, it is the opinion and recommendation of this study that BIM is essential to efficiently achieve the collaboration required for IPD. And here I want to go back to what I said this morning, and I tried to make the point that the value, the deep value of building information modeling is that it becomes a tool for encouraging discussion and collaboration between people, between partners on a project. That they're better able to see what other people are doing and what the different interests are so that the overall result is better. So they can optimize the whole and not optimize each part. And so indeed, the American Institute of Architects wrote a standard contract form for IPD on the basis of the understanding that this was the best way to do building modeling, not for lean construction interests. And there are others who've done the same. There are now, in the US, 4 or 5 standard contract forms for IPD that you could pick up and choose and look at. Oh, come on. I don't have any particular case studies or stories of success or failure, but you can have a look. There is a website of the American Institute of Architects where they have 7 or 8 case studies that people have written up about their experience in doing IPD. And this particular company, Weitz, is a reinforced concrete subcontractor, and yet they have tried to use IPD methods on this project called the Central Park Tower. And they reported, for example, you see here, a previous comparison project a year before, 44 RFIs, requests for information. These are design changes and inconsistencies. The range of costs, this is additional costs beyond their contract price, $100,000 to $160,000 on a project like this. That's what the owner had to pay out of their contingency. Whereas here, 0 RFIs for the same project and no contingencies 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Now, I make no claims for this and I take no responsibility for this case study, but I do encourage you to go and have a look. In a moment, I'll give you the website for it and you have the slides, so there is a wealth of information that you could find. So what are the conclusions here? Well, IPD is very different from traditional contracting. And it requires, as I said in the beginning, an owner who is smart enough to know how to do it, and is wise enough to lead a project team and to engender the collaboration rather than the competition. It requires a change of attitude, not only a change of contract. That, I think, is clear. And as far as, at least my perspective on it and all I've heard up to now, is that building modeling is essential to support the cycle times, the short cycle times needed for collaboration. And we've heard this through the day, that when you're using modeling, you can get costing much quicker. You can get the target costing and understand where you are. If you have good information about the project and you can share that information, you encourage the collaboration. And indeed, if you are unable during your design process to understand what your estimate of the cost is very quickly, then it's very difficult to know if you're on target for meeting your goals. So the building modeling becomes a key thing. And finally, perhaps, IPD's primary source for adding profitability is not because we can work quicker or we can use less concrete, but it's by reducing the waste that we have anyway. Learning the technology is the easy part. Adapting to the processes is more difficult, and that's true, and I brought this now. That statement I could have put at the end of the lecture this morning, and it's the same statement at the end of the lecture now. Learning the technology is the easy part. Adapting the processes is much more difficult, as you can imagine. So thank you very much once again.
No nii, Tallinna mees on oma jutud rääkinud, ma kasutan jõudu ja kuna ma toonitasin seda, et see on sissejuhatus järgmise aasta võib-olla meie poolt valitavasse teemasse, siis äkki ma ühe küsimuse luban. Palun. Ei ole ühtegi. Seda parem. Palun, jah. Poisid.
I noticed that in your last method there was no inspector who controls the quality, that the profit doesn't come from the lack of quality.
You mean here? You mean here? There is no inspector because we know that in terms of quality control, there are two aspects. There is quality assurance and quality control. The first one is, in general, in any project, that the contractors who are working are required to maintain their own quality assurance procedures, and then afterwards there would be quality checking or quality control by the owner. In this case, where it's an IPD group contract, they would need to the quality assurance would be built into the IPD group contract, so that each of them are maintaining their own quality procedures. But then they could have, and to be honest, I haven't asked the guys in California about how they do this, but I would imagine that they could have a quality control built into the project. In other words, a quality control service as part of the project or as a separate service. So perhaps the short answer is I don't entirely know the answer, but I would be happy if you find out and let me know.
Kas soovis? Thank you. Nii, ja nüüd anname siis sõna meie viimasele plaanitud esinejale Aivarsile, kes informeerib teid oma tegemistest siin koolis.